Good evening and welcome to California Today. I'm Daniel Hall sitting in for Lang Jiang. Here's a preview of some of the stories that we've got ready for you tonight. The Oakland Police Department is seeking the public's help in identifying the suspect in a recent shooting. A man was shot to death after two individuals approached his car. There are some mixed messages in Los Angeles about what's really happening in hospitals with COVID patients. While the Department of Health seems eager to reinstate mask mandates, one medical official said that it's all a result of media hype. A parole board has approved the release of a former Mexican Mafia Gang Leader. The board says he's worked as a faithful informant for 2 decades, while governors past and present said a lack of parole was for his protection. Abortion advocates continue to protest the overturning of Roe v. Wade. Some members of Congress were at the Supreme Court Tuesday. Over a dozen were escorted away, including 2 California representatives.
If we don't get it, shut it down!
That's Democratic Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley taken away by law enforcement. According to D.C. police, protesters were illegally blocking traffic adjacent to the Supreme Court. Law enforcement says 35 were arrested, 17 of them members of Congress. That includes 2 Bay Area representatives, Barbara Lee of Oakland and Jackie Spear of San Mateo. Spear shared an image on Twitter of fellow demonstrators locked arm in arm with the caption, "Why are women's bodies regulated more than guns?" The highest court in the land has been fenced off for weeks. The border came up shortly after the court's draft opinion on the latest abortion case was leaked. Bay Area police are looking for a suspect who shot a young man in Oakland. Authorities posted a video on social media hoping to get public help to identify the alleged shooter. Viewer discretion is advised as some people may find the footage disturbing.
The altercation lasted only several seconds. That's the sound of a gunshot killing Con Fung. Police say the incident happened July 17th, just before 11 a.m. According to a GoFundMe page for Fung, who also went by the name of Patrick, he was a hardworking man who immigrated from Hong Kong to America 8 years ago. He was a calm, gentle, and kind person and an incredibly loving son towards his parents. He was the sole provider for his family and worked long shifts as an Uber driver and a warehouse delivery man to provide for his parents. He was also saving up to marry his girlfriend. The Oakland Police Department and Crime Stoppers of Oakland are offering a $12,500 reward for information leading to an arrest.
A hospital official and a doctor have caused a stir in Los Angeles after dismissing new county COVID warnings as media hype. Their denial flies in the face of the county health director's claims. Here's what was said. Los Angeles boasted some of the strictest COVID mandates in California, and the County Department of Health may be looking to bring them back. But the chief medical officer at the Los Angeles County and University of Southern California Medical Center says it's all exaggerated.
It is just not the same pandemic as it was, despite all the media hype to the contrary. And a lot of people have bad colds, is what we're seeing.
During the internal town hall meeting last week, Spellberg said that the CCP virus cases, also known as COVID-19, have been mild. Most people are sent home without being admitted.
The numbers at LAC COVID positive tests have continued to go up, but this isn't because we're seeing a ton of people with symptomatic disease getting admitted. We're seeing a lot of people with mild disease in urgent care or ED who go home and do not get admitted.
Spellberg's comments come after LA County Health Director Barbara Ferrer said in a statement last week that the county is now seeing a high level of COVID-19 transmissions. She suggested that the indoor mask mandate be reinstated at the end of the month.
As of this morning, we have no one in the hospital who had pulmonary disease due to COVID. Nobody in the hospital. We have nobody who had COVID-19 disease as we would see in the past. So I guess it is hard to get a little more excited.
LA County Health Services published a letter on Monday in response to the town hall video. The letter acknowledged that ICU visits for COVID are low, citing jabs as a reason. A former LAC-USC doctor responded, saying that the letter was agreeing with the objective facts your own doctors said, which refute LA Public Health and Ferrer and make it clear mask mandates are unnecessary. He added, putting spin on it based on fear is unethical at best, criminal at worst. Ferrer said if COVID rates remain high for 2 weeks, mask mandates may return to Los Angeles by July 29th. Police say they detained a man in connection with a false bomb threat at San Francisco International Airport. The suspect's motive is still unknown.
On Monday, the San Francisco Police Department announced the arrest of Terry Addison, a 53-year-old Oakland man, for allegedly reporting a false bomb threat over the weekend. The malicious report led to hundreds of people evacuated from the airport. The threat came on Friday night, and airport police discovered a suspicious package. The authorities suspended the airport's air train and limited the passengers to the airport's domestic terminals. Police said they removed several suspicious packages from the international terminal. Travelers were given the safe and clear to return on midnight Saturday.
San Diego, one of the safest cities in the United States, is starting to lose its police force. We spoke to the president of a local police officers association to hear where the police are going and why they are leaving. The San Diego Police Department, or SDPD, lost over 200 officers last year, the highest number in a decade. SDPD Sergeant Jared Wilson, who has served for 18 years, told NTD News that a lot of officers are leaving to places where they feel more supported.
Actually, last fiscal year, we lost 241 officers. And of those, approximately 100 left due to a vaccine mandate. Becoming a big city cop has become more and more difficult. As soft on crime policies have led to a rise in violent crime, officers are leaving to other jurisdictions where they feel more supportive in the suburbs.
Wilson also said that he's never seen crime rates this bad, listing an increase in homelessness, hard drug use, and homicides.
We're trying to impact these violent crimes. We're trying to enforce the already huge amount of gun laws that are on the books. The amount of violent crime by repeat offenders is on the increase due to poor legislation from Sacramento, like Prop 47, Prop 57, and AB 109 from the last decade. And our officers don't feel like they're making a difference.
The city is considering the PROTECT Act, which will make it harder for police to stop or search drivers and their vehicles. Proponents say they hope it will reduce racial profiling, but some officers disagree, saying it's affecting police morale and hindering their ability to do their job.
It's the most anti-law enforcement legislation in America right now. Additionally, it would not allow you to run someone for a warrant that's already been issued by a judge. It would really impact our ability to make traffic stops where we're recovering a huge amount of ghost guns from. And it criminalizes policing in a way that the Supreme Court from both the state of California and the United States has said is completely legal.
To address shortages, San Diego Mayor Todd Gloria said he's confident the city is responding to officer shortages using a variety of initiatives, including a 10% pay raise in the next year. According to a 2015 FBI uniform crime reporting dataset, San Diego has about 13 police officers per 10,000 residents. By comparison, Los Angeles has nearly twice that per capita, and New York has more than triple. California parole officials have approved the release of a notorious former mafia prison leader. They say he's cooperated with law enforcement for nearly 20 years.
California parole officials allowed the parole of Rene Boxer Enriquez, a former Mexican Mafia prison gang leader. Consecutive governors Gavin Newsom and Jerry Brown previously denied parole for Enriquez, partly on the argument that he's safer in prison than on the streets. They fear he may be targeted as a snitch by his old affiliates. But Enriquez's attorney says they can't deny him parole based on he might be in danger. That's kind of his risk to take. He reportedly revealed the inner workings of large-scale gang associations and informed on individual gang members. He testified for the prosecution on numerous cases. Authorities have taken steps to protect him over the years, even once booking him into custody under a false name on a bogus charge of possessing a swordfish without a license. Over the years, multiple prosecutors, law enforcement officials, and FBI sent dozens of letters in support of the parole, some saying he's a changed man. But relatives and friends of a victim of Enriquez argue that he's still dangerous based on his past. In 1985, he joined the Mexican Mafia, nicknamed the Black Hand or La M. He reportedly quit in 2002 when he discovered members were killing kids and relatives of gang members. Now, at the age of 60, he's currently serving a life sentence for 2 second-degree murders, multiple assaults, and drug trafficking conspiracy. David Lamb, NTD News, California.
The Los Angeles District Attorney is terminating a unit that notifies crime victims and their families when their assailant is up for parole hearings. This decision comes after the Los Angeles County Clerk stated that they will need to fully verify signatures for the District Attorney's recall.
The Parole Unit, also known as the Lifer Unit, which is made up of victims' advocates, is said to be disbanded by the end of the year. Los Angeles District Attorney George Gascon's office said that they have determined that this unit is not appropriate, adding that while a victim has a right to be notified, they also have a right not to be contacted. This decision has received backlash from many officials. Attorney Kathleen Cady, a former prosecutor providing pro bono assistance to victims of crime, said in an emailed statement that keeping victims informed and protecting the people of California and victims' rights just seems to get in the way. She added that this systematic and pervasive violation of victims' rights appears to be motivated by one goal: to release as many murderers, child molesters, and rapists as possible from prison. Gascon has met with criticism ever since he took office in December 2020 and is facing a recall as part of the November election. The recall campaign has received approximately 716,000 signatures. To get on the ballot, they will need to have 566,000 signatures verified. The Los Angeles County Clerk stated last week that it will need to verify all the submitted signatures to proceed with the recall election. The clerk's office has until August 17th to conduct the official count.
We're going to take a short break, but here's a look at what we've got ready for you when we come back. The state spent about $500 million recently on diversity training, according to one report. One of the authors describes it as the state's new billion-dollar industry. And the Port of Los Angeles will be offering free boating tours again starting this summer. That comes after the tours were shut down for pandemic lockdowns. That and more on California Today. A new report found that California spent millions of taxpayer dollars on diversity training programs. These programs include critical race theory and equity training in K-12 to higher education classrooms.
A recent report found that the state has spent up to $500 million on diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI, training programs between 2020 and 2022. The Center for Organizational Research and Education, or CORE, conducted the research and report. According to CORE, DEI-related spending activities totaled $110 million in county governments and nearly $90 million in city governments. The report found that 23 of California's public colleges and universities accounted for almost $103 million in DEI-related spending. CORE said in recent years, the concept of critical race theory and its variants has infiltrated publicly funded entities. Lead researcher Will Coggin told Fox News that diversity, equity, and inclusion is becoming California's newest billion-dollar industry. All of this is occurring on the taxpayer's dime. The analysis summarizes results from 400 public record requests filed with California's local governments, K-12 school districts, and higher education. The results only account for 46% of the total public records requests sent out.
A California tax preparer used his clients to allegedly defraud the federal government of more than $50 million. Court documents say the preparer mostly took advantage of immigrants who were unaware of the tax system.
A federal judge has found that an Anaheim-based tax preparer helped clients claim more than $50 million in bogus refunds. According to the Department of Justice, District Judge David O. Carter restricted Jose Pineda and his business ABK Income Tax and Travel, Inc. from helping to file federal tax returns and other tax-related services. Officials alleged that the tax preparers would add fictitious or ineligible dependents to get higher tax refunds. Most of the clients were Spanish-speaking immigrants who were unaware of the fraud. From 2016 through 2020, the business prepared over 22,300 federal income tax returns. 89% of filings were seeking refunds that amounted to a total of just under $52 million.
Cities and counties across the state conducted their homeless counts earlier this year. Most have released their final results, except for Los Angeles. Here's more on what's causing the delay.
Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority, or LAHSA, announced that the results of its 2022 homeless count won't be released until September. The department said the delay is due to COVID-19 restrictions and safety precautions. Every year, the University of Southern California and LAHSA work together to collect and analyze the data from the results. After the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD, validates the data, LAHSA releases the data to the public. The results determine the amount of funding the county receives from HUD. In 2020, the LAHSA reported 66,000 homeless countywide and over 41,000 in the city alone. This year, LAHSA says it doesn't have enough time to release the data on July 21st as planned. This year's count started late, and HUD's validation will begin next week. LAHSA said the accuracy of the data is important, so it wants to give HUD enough time to validate the data.
A school board in Orange County is challenging California's COVID testing policy. They are calling for an end to the weekly COVID-19 testing for unvaccinated school employees. That's after a recent report showed nearly identical case rates between unvaccinated and vaccinated individuals in the county. Capistrano Unified, Orange County's second largest school district, passed a resolution on July 13th in a 4-2 vote calling for an end to mandated COVID testing. They are calling on the California Department of Public Health to set an expiration date for its August 2021 order mandating weekly COVID testing for unvaccinated and not fully vaccinated workers. She cited the OC Healthcare Agency's June 5th report that indicated about 36 in 100,000 people who were fully vaccinated and boosted tested positive. At the same time, 32 in 100,000 people who were not fully vaccinated tested positive. Balakis said this resolution was brought forward so all people, vaccinated and unvaccinated, are treated fairly in terms of any mitigation of COVID-19 in the future. Board Operations Manager Colleen Hayes called the state public health order discriminatory and unnecessary. This comes as the OC Healthcare Authority announced July 15th that the county has entered the high category of transmission rates. The average number of daily COVID-19 cases reached over 1,000 and the positivity rate increased to about 17%. A spokesperson for the California Department of Public Health told the Epoch Times that the health order remains in place as of July 15th and that the public will be promptly updated of any changes. For anyone looking for a free boat ride in Southern California, the Port of Los Angeles will resume its free harbor boat tours at the end of the month. They were halted over the past 2 years due to pandemic lockdowns.
Free public boat tours will return to the Port of Los Angeles on July 30th, after stopping for 2 years due to pandemic lockdowns. Tours will depart every half hour between 10:30 a.m. and 3 p.m. from the Los Angeles Maritime Museum in San Pedro. No reservations are required, and tours will be available on a first-come, first-served basis. Visitors will enjoy 60-minute narrated tours. The port is also offering 3 dog-friendly boat tours. Visitors can find free parking along 5th Street. More information is available online at the Port of Los Angeles website.
Now let's take it over to NTD's Thomas Christian for your sports roundup.
I'm Thomas Christian. This is your California Today Sports Roundup.
With the MLB season resuming tomorrow after a few days off from the All-Star break, we can use this time to review how each California team is faring in the 2022 season. First up is the Los Angeles Dodgers, sitting at first place in the NL West with an MLB second best record with 60 wins and 30 losses. The Dodgers are threatening to run away with the division. They are behind only the New York Yankees in on-base plus slugging percentage, a measure of how effective the offense has been in the regular season so far. The addition of All-Star Freddie Freeman looks to be giving the Dodgers just the boost they need, now having a plethora of formidable bats in their lineup. Freeman, along with Will Smith, Trey Turner, Mookie Betts, and Cody Bellinger, each have double-digit home run totals so far this year. Mookie Betts leads the team with 20 home runs, good for 14th in the MLB. The San Diego Padres sit right behind the Dodgers at second place in the NL West with a record of 52 and 42. However, the Padres are still 10 games back of first place and have plenty of ground to cover if they want to catch the first place Dodgers. More likely, they'll have to worry about fending off the third place San Francisco Giants, who have been right on San Diego's heels for much of the season. With 3 pitchers ranking in the top 50 for ERA, the Padres have been getting things done with their defense just as much as their work at the plate. Yu Darvish, Joe Musgrove, and Sean Manaea are top of the line for what they bring on the mound. And in terms of bats in their rotation, Manny Machado, Luke Voit, and Jake Cronenworth are as good as they come, powering San Diego to a serviceable offensive showing each night. Going down the NL West rankings, the San Francisco Giants reside in the standings purgatory that is third place. At 48 and 43, they did manage to stay above 500 through the first half of the season, but have failed to make any meaningful headway into the top half of the standings. In an NL West division as competitive as ever, they will have to find a way to keep generating wins just to stay afloat and stay in the wild card race. There's still a chance for either the Padres or the Giants to overtake the division-leading Dodgers, but being 10 and 12.5 games back from first place, there would have to be a huge surge in the standings over the second half of the season to see that take place. The Anaheim Angels and Oakland A's, on the other hand, can all but be completely counted out of this year's MLB playoff race. The two teams are 4th and 5th in their native AL West divisional standings, with both squads failing to reach the 40-win mark before the All-Star break. The Oakland A's own an MLB second worst record of 32 and 61. If you've seen Moneyball, you know that there are several outside factors that regularly hinder the A's from fielding a competitive side. And if you haven't, you need to watch it. Oakland can't even stay in games long enough to give their bats a chance, with only 4 batters averaging at least the 3.1 plate appearances required to have an official batting average. Their pitching has been just as poor, with no one in their bullpen owning an official ERA under 3.0. The Angels are only slightly more surprising to be this low in the standings. With 2 former MVPs in their roster in Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout, there should be an extremely solid foundation from which to build a winning squad. Instead, the Angels over-rely on their 2 superstars to carry them through thick and thin. It takes 9 players to win a game, and the Angels seem to have put all their stock into just 2. However, the individual brilliance of Ohtani and Trout should not be overlooked. Mike Trout ranks in the top 5 in the MLB in home runs and on-base plus slugging percentage. With a batting average of .270, he is easily one of the best sluggers in the MLB. And Ohtani can outright take over games single-handedly with his pitching ability while still being one of the better bats in the major league. Relegated to being just another arm in the Angels' bullpen rotation, Ohtani is not allowed enough pitching appearances to really make a dent in the Angels' win-loss deficit. To recap, the Dodgers, Padres, and Giants are 1st, 2nd, and 3rd in the NL West division, with San Diego and San Francisco chomping at the bit to make a run in the standings to challenge the front-running Dodgers. On the dark side of the MLB, the Angels and A's are 4th and 5th in the AL West, mainly looking to save some of their reputation by the end of the season.
That's all for California sports. Back to you.
That's all we've got for you tonight. You can join us again on California Today every weekday at 8:30 p.m. If you have any news tips or ideas for our show, or if you just want to give us some friendly feedback, our email is california.today@ntd.com. I'm Daniel Hall, sitting in for Lang Jang. Have a wonderful evening.